Let's get started with today's WebEx, and this time the topic is about email fraud protection. It called protection against business email compromise attacks. And if you have any question during the presentation, please write in the panel in the question and answer section, and we will take them at the end of the presentation. So first of all, thanks for participating. This is a very, very interesting topic. I think my name is Jan Kostrup. I'm the CTO in CSIS, and I've been working on the project for nearly 2 years in very close relationship with our customers in UK, the bank, the financial sector. For them, this is an enormous important topic, and I get a bit back to why that is. Let's get started. So first of all, CSIS, who are we? Well, we were founded back in 2003. At that time, we were very focused on the financial sector and what happened there, and tried to protect and have been trying to protect them for many years. CSIS is about 70 employees, 25 different nationalities. We have a 24/7 support and monitoring center, also called our MDR. We host our own cybercrime conference, and we are accredited by Gartner and known for our threat intelligence and innovative security products. Today's agenda is about, first of all, email fraud research and market demands, basically the background why we have started this innovation project. Then I'm going into a bit more about what are the most common email attacks, and then I'm focusing on some real impersonation email cases we have been working with in this study. We've been working with more than 200 cases, so I'm taking up just 2 of them. And then, of course, the main focus is going to be on the system itself, which we recently launched. And then I'm ending with the benefits from the system and some next up in the system. And then it allows you for question and answer in the end. So let's look at why we started this project. What you see here is a bunch of different articles that has been written during the last couple of months. First of all, FBI is out and claiming that they see 26 billion losses in 2019 on impersonation fraud or business email compromise attacks. This has doubled up from the year before. We see a range of different segments that are targeted by it. And if you go to the UK, they made a study where it says about 500,000 small medium business companies were targeted with an average loss of £27,000 per case. If we look in Denmark, we are on this very top 10 list of being the most naive or believe the best in other people. So we are very likely to be frauded with CEO fraud. And Kirkerådet was recently experiencing a loss in this area. And when you look at the refunding policies from the banks when this happens, that first of all, the banks, they don't have to refund you. In UK, it is a bit different, and that's also why this project started in UK, because there the banks, due to a regulation, they are now started to have to refund some certain customers when this happens. But in Denmark and the rest of the world, there's no funding, and the insurance companies either do not offer an insurance when you do what we call push payments, so you are the one actually sending out the money, and the ones that actually do, they have a very, very high entry for that you have to pay yourself if this happens. The research study also showed us that there are 2 dominant groups out there. There are more than 100 groups doing this, and more is coming too, but there are 2 dominant ones, one in Israel and one in Nigeria. And this tells us that they have enormous amount of money that they get from these attacks, which means that they have very, very many resources that allows them to make the attack much more sufficient. And they have like local people can speak native language. So when you see the attacks, it is written in Danish if it's against Denmark. They spent months preparing the attack to be the right, perfect timing of the attack. And the other thing that we realized was that Office 365 is one of the biggest reason for this has exploded, because everybody start using Office 365, and that allows IT criminals to do phishing attacks and take over email accounts, either from your employees in the company, so the email that comes looks like an internal email, or from your supplier, so it's actually your real supplier that basically sends you the fake invoices. So what are the most common email attacks nowadays? We have classified them into 3 different categories: the impersonation attacks, the malware attacks, and the phishing attacks. So I'm solely focusing on impersonation attack in this presentation, but the malware and phishing is also interesting. But for time being, let's focus on the impersonation part. There you typically see that the payload, or what's contained in the email, is often something about you need to change your account number, or the account number was replaced in an invoice by the IT criminals, or hey, we need to make an urgent payment to a new vendor, type of thing. And you know these attacks as being BC fraud, CEO fraud, CFO fraud, employee fraud, vendor supplier fraud. Those are the known names for it. The method, however, is very easy to spot. It's either they're using a typo squatting, where they basically buy up a domain name that looks like the person they are about to impersonate, or it is spoofing, because they haven't protected their email services with SPF and DMARC, or it is what we call email account takeover, which is also known as business email compromise. I'm going to walk you through 2 cases. Case number A is about impersonation, where the method is email spoofing and the payload is an urgent payment scam, and known as a CFO fraud. The case B I'm taking you through is also impersonation, of course, but the method is email account takeover and the payload is fake invoice attachment, known as CEO fraud or BEC fraud. So let's start with the first one, case A. This is one of the most common cases we see nowadays. This is more the more random type of attacks. The way the criminal does it is because this is about email spoofing. So they're basically checking email domains if they are protected well enough with SPF and DMARC. And often we see that customers either do not have DMARC protection, or in this case, the DMARC is actually established, but the policy is set to none, so it has no effect. So Alan Hansen, he is the CFO in this case, and he sends an email to Morten in the company. So it's an internal email from one to another about a vendor payment that needs to take place. And he basically asked that, hey, are you able to make this payment today or tomorrow? And then he's not revealing the account details yet, but he basically waits for him to reply, so he knows that he is hooked into this case. Now, because it's only email spoofing, so what would happen if Morten, he actually replies back to Alan? The reply back would go to Alan's real email account, and the criminals do not have access to that. So they're using a little trick. So if you look here, the green colors is the kind of information, and the red ones is what the criminal adds in to the email header. In this case, reply to. So basically, when this email is replied to, the email, instead of being sent back to Alan Hansen at f8techgroup.com, it goes to Alan Hansen at f8techgroup.co.uk. This specific domain has been registered by the criminal at the very same day as the attack takes place. And that allows him to transfer the conversation on another email account and thereby carry out the attack. There are a lot of different indicators in here which you could have detected by, or which will be detected by our system. And one of them is, of course, the reply to does not match the from address. And the other thing is looking into the domain name, that it's a typo squatting combination of the real domain and it has been registered the very same day. I get a bit more back to how our fraud logic engine works to detect these kind of things, but this is just to give you an idea. The other attack, it's a bit more sophisticated, or actually a lot more sophisticated, and the attacks, which are much more sophisticated, often includes like you have access to the real account. So this is an account takeover. Fake invoice again. So if you look into this attack, you have James Taylor, who is the CEO of Expo Welding, and they are about to make a new deal with a Chinese supplier. And this conversation has been going on for a couple of months, back and forth, negotiating the price. We're talking 27 million they're about to buy from this new Chinese vendor. Everybody in the company knows about it. It's a small company, 80 people. They are in Jutland, and everybody's aware of this transaction is about to take place. Now, the criminal have had access to the CEO's mailbox for a month, and he has been following this new transaction that is about to take place, or this new vendor. And what you see here is the original email going back and forth between the vendor and the CEO of the company. And what happens is that James is about to leave to Dubai from Frankfurt airport, and at that very minute that the plane leaves, the fraudster takes the email, and he forwards the original email to the CFO Scott in the company and say, hey, please, can you pay the invoice today and send me the payment confirmation when done? But what he does in this sense is he forwards the original email, which contains the two first attachments, which is the pro forma invoice, and it's a documentation for what he's about to buy. And then he fakes an invoice that looks exactly the same, but just with some different account details. Now, let's look into the first one, the legit one. This one was written with a PDF program called Esbosi. So whenever you make an invoice, there are metadata about what program was used, what software version, when was it created, was it modified. All those information sits in the document itself. When you then look at the fake one, you can see it was written with another program called iText. And iText is a PDF program that can also be used to modify PDFs. And the criminals often, as we have seen in the more than 200 cases we've been looking into, they often use this program called iText because it's very easy to use and you can easily modify account details. So these are kind of one of the indicators you could look into to detect this was fraudulent happening. The other one is that Office 365 actually include the originating IP address of the sender. So because James has been sending other emails to other internal employees from Frankfurt airport, we could see that those emails came from Germany. But looking into the IP address in this specific email, we could see it came from Bahamas, which was one of the IP addresses on a proxy list that we're also using in our system. So basically, you can detect this in two ways. Either if the IP address is on a proxy list, it looks suspicious, or if there is abnormalities in the IP address from previous sent emails. Okay, so that was just to give you some examples. Now let's introduce the email fraud products. Basically, it's a system that works for both IT and finance department, and especially the finance department has been extremely important for the system and is what have been taking the most time for us to develop, because we needed to hook into the existing processes that is done in companies when you do payments. Otherwise, we knew that the system wouldn't be used. Let's start on how easy it is to set up. First of all, we integrate into different email systems. We have been focusing on Office 365 to begin with. And basically what you do in step one is you accept our Office 365 app and give it access to the email inboxes you want to monitor. And that is basically something that takes you less than 5 minutes. Basically, you click on a link in our portal and you're redirected to Microsoft's login system, and there you log in with your domain administrator for Office 365, and you allow the app to be installed. And you don't have to install anything on all the endpoints. Step number two is you then choose which email boxes to monitor. We are always recommending to monitor all the email inboxes because we are very dependent on the original email that comes in, which has all the risk indicators. So you should monitor all the email inboxes, but if it's for testing purposes, etc., you can basically go in and choose which one to monitor. And then step 3, which is optional if you don't just want to have email alerts. Step 3 is where you install our browser plugin that works for net banks and payment control system, ERP systems. So we are able to make the check whenever you type in the account number you're about to transfer money to. So the core of the system is our fraud logic engine, which is a combination of AI and rule triggers. So in this example, on your right-hand side, you have an example of a fake invoice where we have modified the invoice, changed the account number in an original invoice, and then went through Tor exit node or the Tor browser and sent the email. What you see on the left-hand side is basically some of the rules that was triggered. So one of them being that the PDF was modified. The PDF was modified from another time zone. So somebody created the invoice in, for example, UK, and the computer that modified it was a Danish computer. And you can see that there is the email sender sends from different countries within 24 hours. That is some of our abnormality detection. So we have seen emails from Jan Kostrup being sent from other countries with financial content earlier, but within the last 24 hours, he suddenly changed country. And there are suspicious wording in the email. One of the good things is we only look in metadata, so we don't have the original email in the system. So we're very GDPR focused, very not storing data we don't need, but only information need to make the risk score. If we look into what the IT department gets from the system, well, it's something that is platform independent. It's an add-on to any existing anti-fraud and email filtering solutions. It's easy to deploy and maintain, and it's developed with security and privacy in mind. And that's because the banks was the one asking us to do it. So we knew they could not come out with a solution to their customers that would require them to change the whole mail gateway setup. It needed to be something on top, and we need to be secure and privacy focused. If we look into the dashboard they have, basically you can see each email that comes in, we have classified with financial content. It will have a risk score associated to it, and they have a dashboard they can search in and find the alerts, or they can get them via email. But they are not the receivers as such. That is the financial department. But this gives them a lot of other interesting things. They can go in and see what people send us invoices, and are they protected? Our suppliers, are they protected with SPF and DMARC? So there are a lot of different things they can get from the system. But let's focus on the financial department. So this is an integration to Jyske Bank Netbank. I'm going to show you a demo in a second from Danske Bank. But the idea here is that once you're typing in the account number, or it's pre-filled for you in your payment control system, basically, if there is a risk score associated to it, you get a pop-up in your existing flow. Let's look into this pop-up, what it has. So first of all, it's a pop-up warning. Appears when a suspicious bank account is detected on the web page. So you install our browser plugin. We are working with some banks now to make native integration in their net bank. So basically, you give them the API key from our system, and you don't have to install the browser plugin. But if we don't have native integration, you install the browser plugin. Then you have 3 options whenever you get warnings about suspicious account details. Either you put it on hold. That gives you time to go and verify the account details at the supplier. And the recommendation is you call it from their official phone number, not what's in the email, and you're not sending email to verify the stuff. Then you can confirm it as malicious, which is the recommendation, because this has a high risk. Otherwise, you wouldn't get the pop-up. What happens there, it's being put on a blacklist. So next time another of the financial officers entering that account number, they will receive the pop-up, but they will have no actions to take. Basically, that they will be prevented from doing it. And the only way to not or to do the payment would be to go through the IT department and get it off the blacklist again. You can report it as secure. And that means that you have verified the account detail is real. And once you click that button, it goes to the whitelist. So next time that account number is being used from that sender, well, it's on the whitelist and it will not generate alerts. And the system also allows you to upload a list of account numbers that you want to be whitelisted, because you already know those are valid suppliers. So basically, you only get this pop-up when it's a new account number that has never been seen, and our system have detected associated risk score to it. You can also click on more information, and that will give you more details about what email relates to this payment, and what are the risk scores, so you have it directly in the pop-up. And if you are in any doubt, we have a specialized 24/7 support team that is specialist in fraud, and they can assist you with taking the right actions immediately. If you click the more information, you see like who is the sender, who is the recipient, what was the subject, mail seen and sent, any reply to, and then the specific trigger rules for that alert. Now, this is the last thing I'm going to show you. It's a recorded video of how the plugin works on Danske Bank. So stay tuned. The first thing happens is you need to verify yourself with the account, with our system, and we support two-factor authentication as well. So if you want to do that, then you're entering the two-factor authentication. Basically, what happens is now you're logged in, and whenever you then go into, in this case, Danske Bank District, and you're typing in the account number in the account field like that, you'll see the pop-up. So simple, and you can then see more information, and you can go down and see the specific trigger rules. These are just examples, so it's pretty empty right now, but you will have the individual trigger rules that detected this one as being suspicious. The more information gives you the same option, simply just opens up. And some of the information we're also going to add in there later on is the who is information from the email domain, which will give you like what company does this account number really belongs to. So if it was a typo squatting domain, you would typically see the who is information would be privacy related. If it was like a real company, well, you would, or another company's details being used, you would see, oh, I thought I was about to send money to, let's say DSV, but that account number is associated who is with a Chinese company, for example. So that should also raise suspicious. All right, this was basically what we had today. The last thing I'm going to show you is like kind of the benefits overall. So first of all, the system detects fake invoices, even from compromised email accounts, and it rate every invoice, monitor compromised emails, scan emails continuously. That also means that if an account number was not detected malicious, but we find out a couple of hours after or a day or two, you will be notified as well. It integrates easily with payment control systems, and you have 24/7 support. Currently, we have a couple of reference customers, Tiger of Sweden by Malene Biver and Demand. To go back to Demand, I'm going to show you something that is next up in the system, but I haven't planned for today because it's too many details. But basically, because we are looking into email, and email are being the most used media to compromise companies, instead of only focusing on impersonation fraud, we also have malware and phishing protection. And the thing here is that we made a study about Office 365, and supported by other security reports, we could see that the average miss rate is 23% of emails with either phishing or malware that is not detected by Office 365. We looked into the malware that actually bypassed, and we could see it was highly targeted attacks, which was only sent to one receiver, but with the type of categories like a password stealers, malware loaders, remote administration tools, hacker tools, ransomware, and advanced phishing. And the reason for that is that because they're in the cloud, it's so easy for the criminals to test if they detect their malware when they send out the email, and they can modify it and check it again. And once it bypasses, they send out their campaigns. Now, what our system does is it scans all files and links with 56 different antivirus scanners. And not only on the initial scan, actually we scan it up to 72 hours after the email was received, and we can take actions on that. So a lot of the times we have seen like companies being hit by a ransomware, but basically what have happened was they were infected by Emotet malware loader to begin with, and it stays there for a couple of weeks, and then they sell it off to the gang TrickBot, which then take over the machine, and then they drop ransomware like Reich. But all this takes about 3 weeks to 1 month from the initial infections, and by cutting down the detection time to 72 hours, for example, makes an enormous benefit from the customers. So this is our next up version of the system, which is about to be released in 1 month. Right now, the impersonation fraud is, of course, in focus, but I just wanted to give you that as well. So now it's time for questions. If any questions has arrived, let me see. There is a question about, are you working with resellers or only sell directly? Well, we are working very closely with reseller. That is one thing for sure. And you can contact us to get the reseller names if you want to. If we will share the slides, yes, I think we will share the slides to the people who have participated. And there are no green colors. Yeah, that's a good thing. I forgot to mention. So one thing is when we detect the account number being malicious, what I didn't show you was that we also detect when the account number is non-malicious. And there we are able to basically tell you that the account number you entered and the email associated to looks legit. So we kind of give it a green tag, basically tell you this looks non-suspicious. Of course, we take no liability, but it's a really good thing, and it would happen if it's on your whitelist already, or if we are seeing this account number being used by this company or email domain a lot of times, so it has a really good reputation. So yeah, I missed that part. Prices, yeah, prices. It starts from the average of 20,000 Danish a year for a kind of a small company up to 100 employees, and it goes up to like 800,000 for a big enterprise in the US. So that is the span. But it is, the price depends on the amount of mailboxes in your Office 365, if it's Office 365 you're using. So the amount of email inboxes that is monitored by the system, and we take it for all your mailboxes. So you cannot just say we just want it for financial people. I mean, you can install it so it's only financial people, but we are taking the price for all the mailboxes. Is there previous next button in the GUI of the threat intelligence portal, so it's fast to click through the entries? Well, you're really not using the you're not using the threat intelligence portal so much for the rule triggers. You are using the plugin, I think, mostly. But what is happening is we are one of the things that we haven't implemented yet, but it's coming up, is basically whenever we detect the invoice being malicious, we are removing it from your inbox and we are attaching it to a new email with which will tell you that this is a warning, and the original email is attached to that email. So what about payment via CSV files loaded into bank system? Yes, that is also supported. And again, I haven't showed you it right here, but what happens there is basically we make an API request from our browser plugin for every bank account details we see on the page. We are building the plugins as we go. So once we have a new system that does not kind of support, we add that support to it, and that includes the CSV. We can also inject into the CSV export before it's being sent to the bank system. So we are working currently in dialogue with Bank Connect and some of the integrators from the ERP to the neck bank systems. Yeah, it's a subscription, of course. So you pay per year, and typical a 3-year contract. Yeah. the last part is in the product, the malware and phishing part. It's an add-on module. So basically, we have two modules: the impersonation and the malware phishing, and it has an additional cost. The price list for that is not official yet because we haven't launched it. Is it working together with other anti-spam solutions? Yeah, that's really the nice part. So the banks in UK, they are distributing other type of antivirus, and we have allowed them to use our engine, so they are capable of using our engine. Mail gateways can easily use our engine as well, and integrate that, because everything you see and everything our system built with is APIs. So the Office 365 integration is basically an app that takes out the email and posts it to our API and gets back a risk score. So yeah, we can integrate with any solution whatsoever. Well, the last part, in price, all that. No, there will be an additional cost. I also said that. All right, I think that was it. The last thing I just want to highlight as well is we are just about to launch our new threat matrix report, and that contains the last 6 months, the threat and the experience from the last 6 months that we have seen, especially the chapter about the incident response cases we have been at, what to look out for, and lessons learned from them, but also what is going on at the moment and what are we expecting to go on later on. And we will distribute a download link for our threat matrix report to the participants today, so you have something additional to look into, which is not only impersonation fraud, of course, but a lot of other threats as well. All right, I think that was it. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope to see you again when we introduce the malware and phishing module next month. Thank you.